US President Joe Biden doesn't remember the name of his vice president. He called Kamala Harris Vice President Trump. Well, hold on, there's more. He called Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky as President Putin. His officials were cringing because of the embarrassment, and Democrats are left wondering whether their bumbling presidential candidate could defeat Trump as the four powers are just piling on. We have some straightforward questions this evening. Question number one: is President Biden mentally fit to contest for re-election in November? It's just 4 months away. Can President Biden's inner ring keep him in a cocoon and shield him from public appointments? Question number three: who are the other probable candidates for the Democratic Party? Question number four: will Biden admit to his failings and quit to give Democrats a fighting chance before elections? And finally, question number five: is Donald Trump's route to the White House easier with Biden as his opponent? To discuss this, I have with me this evening Ambassador Jayant Dasgupta and my colleague Justin Thomas here in the studio. Ambassador Dasgupta, I wonder if you saw those clips coming out of the United States. Absolutely horrific. President Biden calling Vice President Kamala Harris Donald Trump, and Ukraine's President Zelensky Vladimir Putin. I'm sure they dismissed it off as a joke, which they did. But the damage has been done, you think, Ambassador Dasgupta. Tell us, you think that President Biden is mentally fit to contest re-elections just 4 months from now?
Well, that's a very difficult question, and I think there are two aspects to this. The first one is about something which President Trump also mentioned in the course of his debate, or before that. I think he had suggested that President Biden should take a cognitive test, whether his mental faculties are all there in place or not. So that is something which President Biden will have to take a call on. And the House chairperson, Nancy Pelosi, has also mentioned that President Biden has to take this call, not about the cognitive test, but about whether to step down or whether to carry on sooner rather than later. And there is a Democrat from Vermont, Welch,
Yes,
who's openly called out for President Biden to step down. Now, the other aspect of this whole issue is, if President Biden is persuaded to step down, and indeed does so, then who will be the replacement? And can the replacement garner an equal number of votes and also support from the campaign funders? And whether that candidate will pose an equal challenge, if not a greater challenge to President Trump.
right.
These are the two questions which are being faced by the Democrats.
Yes, and Justin, you've been tracking the US elections very closely. Do you believe that President Biden's ring, of his relatives, his wife, his close advisors who've been with him for decades, they can kind of protect him from what's going on right now, or it's over now?
I think if you see the situation that Trump and his advisors, Biden and his advisors are facing, is where he has to be given cue cards, where he has to tell, you have to move forward.
Yes.
You have to say these two words.
And he reads out those instructions
exactly.
as well.
And he moves back.
Yes.
So that's how bad the situation is for the circle around him. And they have tried their best, but being a US president, you need to at some point of time be in front of the press, in meetings, gathering people, meet your closest aides, your donors and all. I mean, if you are forgetful about your donors who are contributing to your campaign, how do you think the reactions are going to be?
There
it's a very difficult situation that his team is in.
Lots of luck in your final year, as he frequently says. But Ambassador Dasgupta, who are the probable candidates now for the Democratic Party? They're literally left with no time, less than 4 months. It's just literally, you can count the US election date, November 4th, in a matter of days now. Who are the probable candidates to replace President Biden in case he makes that move to step down?
The first one name which comes to mind is of Vice President Kamala Harris, but she doesn't enjoy a very good support base amongst the House representatives as well as in the Senate. So she will be a long shot. That said, there could be other, governors, for instance, Democratic governors in different states. Nancy Pelosi, if she is willing to, uh, throw her hat in the ring, she could be another candidate. And I made make a very wild guess. Hillary Clinton could be a very good choice, perhaps, if she agrees, though it is very late in the day
Right.
for her to
Her
come in.
cognitive abilities will have to be also checked.
Right. Hillary Clinton, interesting name there, Justin, from Ambassador Dasgupta. You think it's too late in the day for Hillary Clinton, or she sees this ship sinking, it's a Titanic thing, there's no point in rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic?
I think Hillary faced a similar issue when she was on the Democratic ticket about her cognitive abilities in
Yes,
2016.
right.
So really
It's a
no
long
chance.
time ago.
But I think Kamala Harris in itself is a problematic for Democrat because choosing any candidate over her, she's the lady candidate,
Yes.
a black woman.
Yes.
So these two are, these are vote for Democrats, clear vote segments for
Yes.
constituencies for
And
them.
also person of Indian origin.
Exactly,
Yes.
person of Indian origin. So that is again a big challenge for the Democrats
Right.
to select a candidate beyond
Absolutely,
Biden.
the big challenge there. But Ambassador Dasgupta, do you think that President Biden will actually admit to his failings and do the right thing and step down like Lyndon B. Johnson did in 1968? You see that happening?
It's a very difficult question. It depends entirely on President Biden and his close circle of advisors, including his wife. But I think if his cognitive abilities are not up to the mark and they don't seem to be so, then I think it would be in the fitness of things for him to step down.
Yes, yes, and so far it doesn't look like that's happening, Justin. That everyone's urging him to do the right thing, including George Clooney, who came out with a very, very, extreme editorial saying, I love you, President Biden, but not as the next president.
Yes, so the Democrats themselves, Biden himself, they don't really have a big choice because you need to campaign, you need to hit the road,
Yes.
you need to do a lot of things. It's just not
It's a very physically intense.
Exactly. So having Biden himself making the choice, who made it clear a couple of weeks back that I'm not stepping down, but then again it goes around. It's a vicious cycle for them.
It's a vicious cycle indeed, and it's the choice is actually literally for the United States now is that they're caught between a rock and a hard place. Speaking of the hard place, Ambassador Dasgupta, do you think President Biden's troubles make it easier for Donald Trump to enter the White House as is being predicted?
Yes, I think it makes it easier in the election process. But of course, there is this large overhang of the conviction, the felony convictions that he has been, facing. So one doesn't know. The American system, we don't understand it very clearly. The Supreme Court has given a certain ruling. So that has, I think, delayed the sentencing part in that conviction. So one doesn't know whether it will have any impact on the minds of the voters, and if so, people who are sitting on the fence, really speaking, whether they will get swayed and vote for the Democrats, irrespective of who the candidate is, or they will, the diehard supporters of President Trump will carry on regardless and vote for him.
Right, that's what it looks like.
We could pull a Kejriwal act out
yes,
by Trump. Because that's allowed. I mean,
in the realm of possibility, we've discussed this.
Very much there. I mean, Trump can be a president from the jail,
from prison, and he can continue to. They can probably have to rename the prison the White House, or if that's the case. But that's the dilemma facing the United States, the most powerful country on earth, and the candidate for the most powerful office on the planet, the U.S. president. And the 4 months away, you have the elections just 4 months away, and these 5 tough questions are going to be asked repeatedly. But thank you very much for joining us this evening, Ambassador Dasgupta, my colleague Justin Thomas. That's a story that we'll be tracking, you can bet, for the next 4 months. President Biden, will he step down? Won't he step down?